streaming, apparently. I hope we're streaming. If we're not streaming, I'm just going to stand here and breakdance simultaneously with my face. I will breakdance with my eyebrows. Yes, breakdancing with my eyebrows. Okay. I feel good about my life and I feel good about today. And because it's Art of Rock. First and foremost, I would like to acknowledge the Tongva people as the traditional landowners of California. I'm sorry, of LA. Please, does my chat work? Yes, my chat works today. Happy. Secondly, this is Art of Rock. And we get together here every Saturday, most likely next Saturday too. And we're going to talk about writer's block and all sorts of stuff and marketing. And wow, it's amazing how musicians hate talking about marketing. But stuff like that. 9 a.m. LA time, 12 o'clock New York time, and I think it's 6 p.m. Berlin time. Yes, it's 6 p.m. Berlin time. This is made possible with ANGELSPIT'S Patreon. And I thank you guys so much for being part of that. And $3 a month, you help keep me going. We help keep each other going, and it really helps me out. ANGELSPIT'S new album is called The Bastard Gods. It's on BANDCAMP. Go check it out. I'm very proud of it. It's very noisy and terrifying. There is a fantastic, terrifying playlist that you need to know about called Industrial Incisions. Some of the bands here are on that. Carrie, you owe me a track for that, by the way. And there's a bunch of other classic tracks, so jump on it. You can hear some old stuff and some new stuff, like the bands. That's on Spotify. And if you want non-stop amazing dark wave craziness, MTV TV. Booyah. And there's the email. If you got a track, a video, send it to them. They will play you. And I can't say this enough. The Adam, it's good to see you. I was just talking about MTV TV. If you've got a track, send it to them. People are going to find you, because people watch MTV TV and they're going to learn about you, and they're going to learn about your video. And if you don't have a video and you just want some new music, you are going to find a new favorite band, because MTV is amazing like that. Okay. We're going to kick this off. Welcome again. I am streaming everywhere, I think. Yes, I'm streaming everywhere. Right. Okay. So here's my question. Please unmute your mics and put up your hand, because it's coming into what I call the no person's land, which is between Christmas and New Year's, where nobody knows what the hell's going on, and you just wake up, eat, drink, go back to sleep. My question is, in this time, how can you relax? How can you help heal your mind without the aid of the internet? So without doom scrolling, without Instagram, without YouTube, without endless bullshit, how can you heal your mind? Which gets into something else, but we'll get to that in a minute. Give me some suggestions. Resi, go.
I fixed my library card.
Oh, dude!
Kind of a minor triumph, but for whatever reason, for the past 6 months, it's been screwed up, and I haven't been able to use Canopy or take out books or audiobooks or anything. And I spent a few minutes, and obviously we know librarians are the most amazing people on the planet. And, I just called the Boston Public Library, and the person on the other end was like willing to help and figure out what was messed up with the virtual card number. And I got that squared away. So now I have all of the credits, tickets that are now available on Canopy for, great films, like current releases, old stuff, classics, smart stuff, dumb stuff. It's all there. And I also, one of the things that I'm listening to currently, and I don't know if you're intending to get specific, there's my general, but the specific is I'm listening to Geddy Lee's book, My Effin' Life. Geddy Lee, the bassist from the band Rush. And I fell out of touch with what they were doing after Grace Under Pressure someplace. Like, that was the one that came out when I was aware of them. And I knew all the other stuff, and I saw them a few times after that. But I'm spending some time going back as he talks about the records that he's working on in real time, and just re-listening to the whole catalog, basically. It's not necessarily an answer to healing or rejuvenating or this, whatever this your specific prompt was, but listening to his life outside of music and what his influences were before the band, and also how he carried through the being a professional musician and touring, and how that worked out with some of his relationships has been absolutely fascinating. So
yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks. And I will echo the thing about the libraries. Get a library card. Get a library card because they're fantastic, man. And libraries, as Resi said, have they've got Canopy, and Canopy's it's a free service of really well curated video content, and they just put The Whale on there too, which if I wasn't in such a psychologically terrible place, I would watch that movie. But Darren Aronofsky makes me just not good. And also try and go to the library and get a book or a picture book or something. You know, you go there and the technical drawings of the stuff that they used in the movie Alien and Star Wars, and it's just insane. Go back to the library. They're fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm going to jump in after Kerry, but first, here's Rob.
Hello there. Yeah, a couple of things going on. My daughter and I have set ourselves a task for the vacation period, and that is to make some custom punk rock boots. So you might have seen my jacket in the Discord. It's like black and red with studs. We've got some jeans, and getting a black magic marker and writing inspirational words on the jeans, putting on cloth patches like the Angel Spit one, you know, all the influences, putting them on those jeans. And the boots, taking some secondhand leather boots, some red leather, and some spikes and studs and buckles, and learning how to use leather working tools again from scratch, and designing concept drawings, Pinterest pictures for ideas. And, you know, by the next week or two, I should have a matching pair of boots to go with that punk jacket. So good creative process.
1,000 times yes. 1,000 times yes. Oh man, that's fantastic. Yeah, I've got like this little bin of random things that, you know, I always, if I'm ever in a fabric shop, I'll go into the scrap bin, and they end up on a pair of pants or something. And do you have a sewing machine?
Yep.
Wow. And you use that sewing machine?
I know how to sew. I taught my daughter, and now she's doing fashion design, so she's got to get the miles in.
Dude,
yeah.
I don't have a sewing machine, so everything I do is by hand. But man, I'm telling you, there's some great things about, you know, about definitely if you've got a sewing machine. I would just say, hey, look, if you want to make a t-shirt look amazing, turn it inside out, put safety pins down your side so you've made the shirt fit to your size, take the t-shirt off and sew that so that the t-shirt becomes tapered to your fit. And it will instantly make any t-shirt look bloody amazing. And then those bits that you cut off, sew them onto pants. Keep all that stuff, sew it. Everything must become zombie apocalypse, or I think that's not cool anymore. I'm not sure. Wow, Rob, thank you, man. That was good. So between library books and fucking your clothes up, we're gonna party like it's 1989. And I'll meet you on the steps of the mall at 12. Don't be late. And then we're gonna go back to Johnny's place and play Atari 2600. Kerry, I want to hear your thoughts. Go.
I never had an Atari, but let's see. I've been exercising and meditating, and well, music isn't obviously my job, how I make money, but I use music to just unwind and decompress my head. It just helps the mind and soul, but exercising and meditating.
That's excellent.
That's what I've been doing. And it just makes me feel so freaking good. Yeah.
The great thing about exercising is it helps you focus your eyeballs on something that isn't a foot and a half away from you.
Right.
I have a theory that that's adding to depression. I'm not sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Ivan, hit me. Then I'll go after you.
Woodworking.
Ah,
I've got some furniture projects that need to get done, and you know, it's a great way to. It's very meditative because I don't really use power tools. I usually go with the Japanese hand tools and do like fancy joinery and stuff, so that it's something beautiful when it's done instead of just pocket screws and plywood.
good on you. I didn't know that about you.
Don't really advertise it that much.
I should say I'm not surprised.
Well, no, I mean, if you get into Eurorack, the next thing you get into is Eurorack cases.
And bread.
And yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Eurorack is, it's like having a weed habit. Next thing you know, you're doing projects so you can make me bong.
Yeah.
Except it's
Yeah.
cases. And as
I
soon
gotta-
as you've made a case, you fill the case.
Yeah. I need to ask. Yeah, I haven't made. I used to make rack cases all the time. Like when I was in university, I'd always make a rack case. Like I had 4 or 5, and every time I started a band, it was okay. What gear am I going to use? Now I have to build a rack case for it. And it was actually great because I'd get the I'd build it out of like plywood because I'm like that. Put big sexy handles on it, and this thing was like ready to rock. And then I would decoupage the sides of it with like bits of books, bits of paintings, bits of all sorts of things, and varnish it and varnish it and varnish it and varnish it and lacquer it. So the box became a work of art. And and I learned really quickly that, when bands started getting better, like I had to build another box now because that one's not going to fit on a plane, or I'm not taking all that shit on a plane. And these are the specs of a carry-on luggage. So therefore I'm going to build a box that is carry-on luggage. Yeah. Get back into building.
Yeah, we got you got to replace the bookcase in the dining room. And, like there's nothing more joyous than what you can do with like black instrument lacquer. Because like it just comes out so glossy and smooth. So I'm really looking forward to using that. And then we're gonna do kind of the same thing in the master bathroom. Our bathroom is intentionally ginormous. Like we can do fancy things like walk completely around the clawfoot tub.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm weird.
That's luscious.
Yeah, but this we have storage problems in that room, and then I need a cabinet just for my hats. And so,
Wow.
there's some bedroom storage that needs to get built, and like once the framing is done up on third floor, there's gonna be a ton of built-ins up there. Like, do the box parts of that with plywood, but then everything that's in front that people see, that's gonna be more fine woodworking.
Brilliant, man. Thank you so much. I love that. So I'm trying to exercise more. I'm a bit of a pussy because it's raining, but I did buy an umbrella. I have no excuse. I really don't. I've got to get out and exercise more. I'm still going on like big walks, maybe twice a week or so. This whole rant, by the way, it sounds like I'm trying to get into the point of healing your mind, as I'm increasingly thinking that my brain has become damaged from internet use. We'll get to that in a minute. Walking is really important. Like you said, Kerry, the exercising. I trying to create music in a different manner, just differently. If I'm going to be watching content, I try to use, I've got a really old crappy projector and I shoot it on the wall. So I'm watching something different in a different way. Taking care of the plants, always fun. I got a billion spider plants. Now I have fucking gnats, but I'm getting rid of them. So if you see me go every now and then, it's because there's a gnat. Also, yeah, totally doing Destructo, getting back into destroying fashion, like what Rob was talking about. Really important, really fun, because you can put on music, or you can have a video going, and you're just sitting there with a nice light. The light part's very important, and you're sewing, and you can do that for hours, and it's using a different part of your brain. I love crypto puzzles. Crypto puzzles are really excellent because it's a book, a piece of, a pencil, and it'll have a phrase that's in jumbled up letters, and you have to figure out what it is, and it's using a different area of my brain. It's really nice, fun problem solving, and it's important to keep that circuit open. So I have a theory. It's more than just a theory that my internet usage is starting to give me brain damage. And that brain damage is in the form of retarding my frontal lobe, which is the area of my brain. I hope I have this right. Somebody's going to say hippocampus in a minute. I know it. Because you just say hippocampus. I'm noticing that I'm having a trouble in my language centers, which is from reading, speaking, and a lot of memory related stuff. I have a stutter, and my stutter is getting a little worse, I'm noticing. And the really big giveaway for me has been the brain fog, has been noticing the like when you write an album, there's this longevity thing where you're saying, I'm working on something now and it's not going to see the light of day for 18 months, 2 years, because that's what an album is. And it's getting really difficult for me to do that now. And a lot of the centers in my mind that emanate hope have also been quite damaged. That and I believe that it has to do with not only the vast, horrible amounts of shit that are on the internet that are destroying the fabrics of my being, but it's also due to addiction, due to internet addiction. And as much as I want to think that I don't have an internet addiction, my phone's saying, gee, dude, you're using the internet a lot. And I do at many times of the day find myself death scrolling. And it's a really interesting thing that I'll do this thing where if I'm making music, I need to put the phone in another room. That if I don't, and I get stuck in the track, I will find myself pulling the phone up, and then the track finishes and it keeps playing. And I'll look up and it's like, Jesus, that was 10 minutes. And my brain's focus has moved. And, the whole thing that's going on now is warfare for focus. That's what it's all about. Your attention. That's the biggest thing that you can have. And of course, the internet doesn't want, social media, etc., doesn't want your focus going somewhere else, which leads into a big conversation, but I don't really want to have that conversation. I want to talk about healing. And a lot of these tricks are very simple, like step 1, put your phone somewhere else. Put it in the fucking fridge. Put it in the bathroom, put it somewhere else. And when you're working, try and do that as well. How much of your work time can be offline? Excuse me again. It's really difficult that we're living in a place where it's so hard to not be online, because everything I do for my work besides the actual creation of music is on the internet. These things, these fun things I'm talking about, they're working on your ability to focus, to relax, and to have fun. It's very, very important that you have fun and that you don't death scroll, and you the attention that is you give the attention to you, because this is it's damaging my thought process, and I'm pretty sure it will be probably damaging a lot of people's thought process, and research is really pointing to the idea that there is brain damage going on that can be reversed, it can be healed, but you're pushing a muscle and it's getting strained. Ivan, talk to me.
Hey, you're in LA. There is no excuse to not get out and walk.
Oh, the rain. And I don't have a bloody umbrella. But true, the umbrella's coming and I am going to be walking. And it's funny that that's the song. The guy across the way from me, whose name is also Carl, plays guitar in Missing Persons.
Noise. But yeah, as soon as that umbrella shows up, use it. Get out there and walk. I mean, you've got you're in Hollywood now.
Mm.
I mean, just get down to Hollywood Boulevard and just walk down that street like you have a purpose, even if you don't feel like you have one. And meet people, like just talk to strangers, because it's really good for your brain.
Yes, it is.
And if you're desperate to find a stranger who will talk to you, just go to one of the Scientology locations.
No,
the Scientologists will always just talk to you.
No.
Hey, well, you don't have to go in and take the test.
No,
you just because they'll just talk and keep talking. They won't even make sense most of the time, but they'll talk. To tell the truth, like the Scientology underlings, some very nice people. They're stuck in a cult and they don't know it, and I feel bad for them. They're they're decent folks. They don't know that the folks above them are not. Am I going too far on that? Are we going to get?
Yeah. But I will say thank you, because Hollywood Boulevard is it's a really good excuse to wear the cool clothes that you've been making.
Yes, it is.
And that is
be seen.
Yeah. The only problem is I'm walking around. It's getting wet, but that's okay. We're dealing with that one. I do like
the rain does not last forever.
It does now. It does. Well, it rains more now, and it's all good. The funny thing about LA is that when it rains, it gets slippery. And you can say that anywhere all gets slippery, but there's a thing about LA and it gets slippery. And whether it's because I think it's to do with the climate encourages the growth of algae, and the algae grows on the sidewalk, and the sidewalks get slippery. So it's just and also it grows on the road too. And there's areas in Australia that there's a form of moss that grows specifically on the road. And so if it rains a lot, the moss grows, and your car, it's like black ice. You're going to go down. Anyway, and that's another good reason to do Destructo and stuff. And every time I'm out and I see somebody with a dog, I will say hello to the dog and also the human. But it's really interesting. Look, I'll be quick. It's very interesting that people don't like talking to strangers. Like, it's just interesting. People are really, really afraid. And I've noticed a change in that in the last few years. Like, they don't want to talk to strangers. Sometimes they do, but it's just an interesting thing. I'm going to shut up now. Ivan, please continue if you need to. Otherwise, I'm going to
every time I've been to LA, I've had absolutely no trouble meeting very interesting people. Even just like out and about. So, take advantage of the fact that LA is like, people don't want to talk to strangers, but in LA they do more than they do in other places. Like if you were in Seattle, you'd be hyper isolated. You don't want to begin to believe how isolating that place is. But LA, especially when you get around, places where industry folk hang out, they like to talk, and it's always a very positive experience.
Yes. Yes, it is. I brilliant. Thank you, Ivan, for that wonderfulness. Braz, hit me.
I think that part of the worst, well, the worst part of the problem that you're talking about with the internet and being online is, from my perspective anyway, the lack of intentionality and the sort of giving into the algorithmic feeds and advertising and marketing and stuff. And it's a little bit fraught to, sort of try to hand wave away the positive aspects of what we do as musicians in marketing. But nonetheless, I think the nature of things like YouTube's and Instagram's pushed filtering and feeding are not super healthy and don't lead to landing on stuff that improves your mental health and well-being and outlook. That's not what it's for. It doesn't. It's just not for that. And on that same tip, even if you're using some of the apps like, again, with Netflix and Prime Video, they play movies while you're trying to look for a movie. So I'm going to underscore again, going for something that doesn't force that kind of behavior. And what I'm getting around to is, this is a new sort of hobby that you might take on if you're not already doing it. But even if you have the rights to these films through these paid services, get the pirated version, download it, put it on your hard disk and watch it on your own time and sort these things on your own time, whether it's a TV series or movie or book or even YouTube videos. I'm going to suggest one thing. Subscribing to YouTubers that you enjoy watching because they talk about things that you're interested in, whether or not they're aligned with your exact, politics or not. Use something to download videos, keep a collection of them and watch them on your own time and skip the feed. Don't look at the home pages of these things. Get away from that a little bit. I happen to use a bunch of servers running on machines here to do the grabbing of episodes of stuff off torrent sites rather than going to the things that I have the subscriptions for. And it's complicated and it's a pain in the ass, but it gets me out of their world. I don't see the ads. I don't see the feeds. I don't see the suggested stuff. I don't hear the auto playing, blaring, action, violent movies unless, I happen to be opting to watch one. And I find it to be rewarding. I think it's a lot of work. It's harder than just using the system as it is. But a couple of examples are, I use apps called Servar and Radar, ARR as in pirate, to grab stuff from torrent sites, and the quality is great, and the scene takes care of making good versions of these things. And for YouTube, I use an app called Downy that I just go through my subscriptions and click, and I get them all put onto a server so that iPad, phone, TV, Google TV, Android TV all have the same repository of files that are now on my stuff, rather than going to the site and scrolling. And I think that's probably enough top level, high level idea of what I've found to be worth the time, satisfying, and gets me out of a lot of the worst parts of internet, so to speak, and the algorithmic stuff and the pushes and advertising.
Brilliant, man. Thank you so much. Rob.
I want to talk about modes of living. I think it was Big Pig, They had a song called "I'm Living in a Box." I'm living in a cardboard box. If you think about your life in the computer or in the internet, what percentage of your life do you spend in the box? And how do you manage that? I mean, you have your phone and you can use your phone to communicate, but too many people use it to live inside of the internet. If you have a tablet, you can use that to play a game or read a book. but a lot of people use that to live inside of the internet all the time, social media, and and I think on the computer it's the same issue. I was ridiculed the other day by my friend. I was building a coding environment for Unreal Engine, and my friend said, "Oh, why are you taking pictures of your screen and sending them to me? Why don't you just do a screen capture?" And it's like, well, I don't have Facebook and Messenger installed on my computer. I use my phone to communicate with people, and that's my habit. And I use my computer to do production. So I'm either making music with it, or I'm mastering, or I'm making videos, or I'm creating content. If I have too many applications on that computer, it will kill it. So I can't have all that stuff on there. And also it's a distraction. I don't really want to have other streams of influence coming into my brain as I'm trying to work. And I think if you were to manage your time a little bit more carefully and think about the modes of access, maybe you use your phone to check social media when you're on the toilet, and then your wife will yell at you because you're in there for an hour. But when you come out, you go back to reality, you go back to hands-on. Okay, you got some learning experience from YouTube for the last 15 minutes. Now go do something about it. Don't think about it and go to the next video. That is not helping your brain. What's helping your brain is absorbing information, grasping the theory, and then applying that learning. That's what helps your brain. Go connect the brain to the physical limbs and go start doing stuff to make that a reality. Go for a hike, go see a real sunset, go create an instrument, go create some artwork that's been inspired or informed by the internet. So you spend 15% of your time living in the box and 85% being you, being biological you, and getting out in the world and doing stuff. That's all from me.
Brilliant, Rob. Well, thank you so much. Thank you very much. Kerry, bombard me. Kerry, you're muted.
Sorry, it's pretty much the same theme as what Rob has. I have one laptop that is just dedicated to music. I don't have any extras or anything like that on it. And I have a schedule. There's a certain time of day in the morning and in the evening when I go to social media. Other time, forget it. And then I have a certain time for YouTube. And same with, I go to different conspiracy sites, which can be depressing to get my samples for my music pieces, but that's it. It's shut down after a certain amount of time. No. And that helps keep my brain healthy and off of it. I think discipline is what I'm trying to say here.
That's brilliant. That is really, really brilliant. You should share. It's interesting that my problem happens when I start getting tired. That's when my brain starts going, I got to get the fuck out of here. And I'm going, one more hour, man, just one more hour. But what I'm noticing is that the lack of focus and the inability for attention, and my thing is focus. Like, that's my fucking gift to the world, is tenacity and focus. And those two things are now being challenged. And that's very strange for me. Thank you, Kerry. Brett.
Hey everyone. So just kind of listening around, and well, I should do. So I have been professionally a person living on the internet since I was 23, maybe. So my perspective of the internet's a little different than I think a lot of people have. If you're working with it, there's you're so inundated that you kind of build up calluses to the immunity or to the influence of social media. And what I mean by that is because for the nature of my job, always researching whatever I can find. If it's on Reddit, if it's on YouTube, if it's anywhere. I need that information all day long to do my job. That creates a problem though. That leaves me very mentally fatigued. I just don't have the energy to listen to people's problems on Facebook after that. So where I get to things like Facebook and whatnot, it ends up being much more along the lines of what like Raz was saying, or Rob. It ends up being that thing that I do on the toilet. And it's like, here's 5 minutes. Okay, I don't have time to really get engaged in this. So give me some stupid cat videos and let me move on. And so this is a change from my views as well on the internet. And it kind of goes back to what I say about being callous to it, is that, you know, I used to be really interested, especially when I was trying to do all the marketing and trying to do things like promotions for either websites, companies, whatever. And you have to be a different person for that. You have to pretend that you want all this attention, whether it's good or bad, to be able to kind of direct it. But if you're actually just trying to be real, you're in the wrong place. It's the internet. You know, it's kind of a wild west of ideologies. And with anonymity comes, you know, unhuman behavior or inhuman behavior. You wouldn't do a lot of the things that if you were talking to some strangers, for example. Most of us would behave the way we are perfectly willing to do so. And so my views of this whole thing is that here's a place of chaos that you can kind of come and play in every now and then. But if you take it too serious, it's going to destroy you. With that comes a lot of information that can be useful, and a lot of personal responsibility in that regard. And then I will give you one of the ways that I get out of this and take my aggressions out. I have, from years of being in this industry, tons of just hard drives. One of the things I like to do has nothing to do with music or anybody, doesn't hurt anyone, doesn't do anything. I make bullets for my 50 cal pellet gun. I bought me pounds of lead. I sit there and meticulously melt it into little molds. And then I take it and I blow the crap out of technology. And it's extremely cathartic. That's kind of my overall pick.
That's awesome. That's great. Building your own bullets. I love it. If anybody else wants to jump in about the concept of what they do to heal, and especially over the weekend, over the next few days, how you can perhaps begin a habit to heal your brain. Razzie, go.
It's a simple one, and it's a little bit of a long-term personal growth thing, but saying yes to other people's invitations and ideas much more than I used to do. Takes you places, going, you know, on trips and getting in situations with other humans.
Excellent. Thank you. This has been awesome. We could change the pace now. Alex, if you're still there. Okay, Alex is gone. We won't pull Alex in on that. Alex is there. Alex, you had a question about lyrics.
Yes, I'm in the process of writing lyrics, and I wanted to write about a certain topic. So I wanted to reference like a Bible passage. And for that, I wanted to look up the most common readings of that passage. And I tried to research it, and it just got lost. And without getting any real answers that were satisfying to me, I spent like 3 hours just looking at things about this passage. And I felt like it would have been better if I had like a plan how to research it. And my question is, do you have like a way of structurally researching without like wasting your time and spinning in circles and having like 30 tabs open that are just blocking your mind? I don't know. Do you have a method to the madness?
That's
Because I
insane.
don't.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Razzie, tell me your method.
A little bit. There's, I guess, maybe 2 components to it. One, placeholders. Like once you figure out what the thing is that you're trying to slot into a place, just enough detail to remember exactly what it was without broaching the research frontier in the moment, so that you can stay in that moment and flow. And then secondarily, don't worry about how long it's going to take to do the research, and leaving ample tons of time to go down all those rat holes and getting lost in the research and branching off and affording yourself the opportunity to maybe find some surprises and joy in that process. It's kind of a non-answer, but I have some habits around that, at least, that I've used. So.
Brilliant. Thank you. Rob.
Check out Obsidian. Just putting the link in the chat. It's a tool to take notes with, and it will do a graphical diagram of your notes and thoughts. And you can save that diagram off, so you can come back and return to that research that you were doing and have all of the fingers of research there in the diagram. And you can go choose one and explore that one into further branches, however you see fit. Just a really good tool. Friend of mine put me onto it only 2 days ago, and I've been using it, and it's really good.
Okay, this is good. I put that in the chat, so everyone, please. I'm going to go in after you, Brett. But Brett, tell me your thoughts.
I use Google Docs principally. So I will like I use a lot of religious characters and whatnot, my stuff. It's my hand so yep, there it is. Anyway. I use Google Docs, man. I will copy and paste URLs, links. I will build entire storylines based on the characters I'm after. A lot of times what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find characters out of religion that match a concept I'm doing. So I'll use search. And I'll be like, give me historical or mythological or religious characters that kind of match this. And I don't skimp on the research there. As far as the fast way, no, I'll open up as many tabs as I need to make sure that the character I'm picking is actually what I'm trying to say, because a lot of these guys have a lot of different personalities, especially when you start getting into Hindu. There's all these dualisms, or dual natures of all those guys. So start with the idea is what I do. So let's say I'm after, like, I'm going to use just for fun, Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob, Dogma. They have the Kako demon, which is a shit demon. So let's say just for fun, I'm trying to make fun of somebody, and I'll go hunt down the name of that demon, and I'll see if there's any lineage for that guy. And does this actually fit what I want to do, or is there somebody better? And then I'll add those characters to my story, and I'll build off of what I've learned about them to further support the narrative.
Well, man, thank you. That's great. So here's my thoughts on it is it's interesting. Is just this? Does the song come first, or does the research come first? Because sometimes, often, research is going to inspire a whole bunch of ideas. That if you, for me at least, if I go, okay, I've got this concept. Now I'm looking for other things to match that concept. For me, it's harder. It takes a lot more time. But whereas if I'm researching a topic and that inspires an idea, that's better for me, at least. I try and find out who, what, where, when, and why, motivations and all of that sort of thing, and project forward to figure out how does this apply to me in this world today. And that often introduces some really interesting things. The answer, I guess, is you can go as deep as you want. But see, now this is very interesting because it's like you're mining a mountain for a nugget of gold, of intellectual gold. And the question is, how deep does the mine go? Well, the question to that is, how much do you want the gold? And sometimes the gold is littered on the surface of the mountain. Sometimes you have to go to the roots of the mountain to find the gold. And along the way, you are going to be acquiring some really excellent jewels of knowledge that may end up fueling more than one song, if that makes sense. So I just answered you by not answering. I obviously make lots of notes. I've moved on to my phone with notes. I used to be pens and paper. Paper's great. Paper's a really wonderful way. And this app that Rob Obsidian mentioned, that's kind of great because it will allow you to start taking the little nodules of information and tying them together. And that becomes the flow of a story, I guess. So go as deep as you need to go, man. That's what I think. You have to figure that one out. Go as deep as you need. Talk to me. I see your hand.
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson I've learned from all of you is to just write stuff down much, much earlier. And I think that makes sense because I was getting lost because I was like going over the same thing twice and being like scattered. And maybe if I put like the information in a better context, it helps me. Yeah, and as you said, my problem was I had an idea, but I wanted to check if what I have in my head is actually what's like the interpretation that's usually used, because I'm not that knowledgeable about any of the religious texts, but especially with things like that, I want to be very careful what I actually saying.
Thank you. Razzie, talk to me.
Yeah, in a real practical sense, Alex, grabbing the cool, charged, activating, interesting words in small groups and phrases one at a time right from the start and getting them into a separate document, moving them, taking them. It's like mining expedition. It really, like early on in the thing, there's a balance between now you've got a pile that's, too much to deal with, but getting it activated and finding the gems, to continue Carl's metaphor, the way the gold is scattered around the surface, right from the start. I think that's a super takeaway.
And it's interesting, if I may, it's really interesting as well because I'll use the metaphor, the gold that is scattered on the surface is obvious. That's the thing. But the more you dig down into a story of a person or a story of a political thing or whatever the thing is you're researching, the more you start understanding, whoa, it's not as easy as that. It's not as, and you might, what's on that surface could be fool's gold. And when you get to the core of the mound, that's where you find where the gold is. And the chorus could be a statement that makes it's a misleading statement. And it's a happy, positive, yeah, fist in the air statement. But the verse is saying that chorus is fool's gold. But what's at the verses are at the core of the mountain. Do you understand? That's saying that chorus is bullshit, or it's misleading. And when you start getting into stuff like that, you start creating some really interesting lyrics. And the whole process of everything that comes off that starts becoming very interesting. And will say again that when I talk about this, normally it's really exciting for me, but it's hurting my brain right now. And it's hurting my brain because there is the longevity thing in my head has been damaged. And I need to get back to finding a place where, oh, wow, this is exciting again. Although I know the path of writing a song is arduous, I know that. But and I'll just really quickly say, I used to keep diaries about writing albums, and I won't let anyone read those diaries because they're really dark, and they are talking about really going through the ringer. Like psychologically, really, and I've learned that is normal to go through that hardship. But what's really interesting is that I'm finding it harder to go to the brink. You know, I'm finding it hard to go to the cutting edge. It's getting harder and harder. And I'm talking over the past few years, it's been difficult for me to do that because the stamina to go through the pain, the grueling, and if you think I'm being dramatic, you've never done a fucking album. Writing an album is a grueling experience. And it's getting harder for me to pull on the energy to push through that. And I am quite convinced that in that hardship and suffering, there's good music, there's good art. And it's not, oh, I'm suffering for my art. That's not what this is. It's taking the time to sculpt and build a piece of art that is fantastic. It is taking a step back going, oh, well, I don't need to address it with the fine chisel or the fine sandpaper because no one's going to notice. Well, step one is you're going to notice, and step two is people are going to notice. And you have to, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about getting in there and really focusing on the art and to making it brilliant. Alex, I'm not neurologically working right now. Talk to me, Alex.
That's okay. I feel you there. Can I ask you about how you wrote that down, this diary, or is this too personal?
Oh, I just filled it in every day. And it was actually, I wrote it when I did a diary for Blood, Death, Ivory. I did it in Berlin because, and it's really interesting that it starts early in the process and it was light and fluffy. But then as it got towards the end, it was getting harder and harder. Plus, that was the first time I was in a hard winter for me, because all my winters before this were in Australia, which winters aren't that bad. But this is a Berlin winter. And it was weird having Christmas and New Year's in the cold. That was foreign to me. I was used to warmth. And sludgy snow with dog shit was also a new experience. What is it with Berlin and dog shit everywhere? Anyway, but you know, it was also mixed with happy thoughts like the food and, you know, man, it's Berlin. But yeah, it as the album progressed, it got more grueling. It got harder and harder and harder and harder. And I was wondering, is this wrong? What is this? And then I did another one for Hideous and Perfect, and that was in Australia. And it was the same thing. It was dark. I actually posted it online, and some people said, wow, man, this is really fucking dark. I was worried about you. So I thought, I'm not going to share this anymore. I did a blipvert about writing an album and what happens in the last stages of writing an album, how it's grueling. You're running a marathon and you're listening to the same thing over and over and over again. And by now you hate it and you're supposed to like it, but you don't like yourself. You don't like it. You're exhausted, but you've got to finish this. And then I started doing one as well for the product, I think, in 2012, but I never finished it. All I do is at the end of every day, I talk about what got done that day in short bullet forms and my thoughts and where my thought process was at and where my thought process was about myself and about the album. And it was quite dark. And it's all about doing something that has a looming deadline, and it is psychologically wearing you down. It is psychologically exhausting because you are pulling from the depths of your creative being to try and make this the best thing that it could possibly be. Yeah, it's interesting that it's interesting. Usually in the winters, I'm finishing albums. I don't know where that is. Traditionally, I'm going to let you, please, Alex. I see your hand.
Yeah, you. Oh, sorry. You answered my question that I had. What kind of things you write? And so for me, it would be like, okay, I have like a main part and a B part, and maybe the lead sound isn't working. I don't know why. I could try these things next, whatever. That's maybe what I do. You hear
Could
me?
you? I'm sorry. Can you ask me the question again?
Your answer is basically.
All right. Yeah.
It was like what kind of things you write and what kind of method.
Yeah. It is critically, for me at least, it is critically important that the song is defined before it goes to production. As in before I start adding mountains of modular synthesizer and all of these other bits and pieces, blippy bloopy blob bits, because I will get to the 11th hour of the song, like when I'm supposed to be producing this thing up now, and I will ask the question, where is the song? What is the bass line? What is the chord structure? What is the melody of the vocals or whatever of the vocals? What is the chorus? And if it's not there, that's when the song falls apart. That's when it just goes to shit. And every single song I have ever written at the 11th hour, I redo the kick drum. And if I redo the kick drum, then the bass changes as well. But I can't change the bass because it's been printed down from the modular by that stage. So once everything is recorded, I change the fucking kick. Every single fucking time. And I don't, you know what? It's really funny, man. I cannot do a 1-3 on the kick. I can't do it. I go to a club and I listen to that kick and it's like, yeah, well, back in the days when I used to go to clubs, like, yeah, man, that kick works. Susie Sue does it so well. How do they? Oh, that's great. I'm going to do that. I'm going to try that. And then I do it. It's like, I can't because it's boring. It's really boring to me. And I'm sure when you listen to the song, it's not boring. But the thing about it is on the 800th, 5,000th listen of the song, it's boring. And yeah, so fuck. I very rarely change the vocals and I very rarely change the synths. It's always the fucking kick drum because by the time it's got to the stage, there's a checklist. And if the boxes aren't checked, I can't move forward. And in answer to your question, Rob, I think 18 months to 2 years is good. Although I have so many things to say about doing the one track release per month thing. I'm not convinced it works. I was looking at my Spotify plays and shit went up, but I'm just not, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. And I don't like talking about money, so I'm not going to talk about money. But when I see my Spotify and my plays going up, it does not translate to the money that I'm getting. And I believe that is because there's no iTunes sales. That's my theory, that iTunes sales seem to come from albums. People seem to, I don't sell singles. I only sell albums. BANDCAMP, I sell some singles, but yeah, it's just really interesting that, you know, I'm doing my tax and it's like, wow, this is depressing. My plays were considerably higher, like the growth was solid, but the money coming in, and before you go, oh, well, that's Spotify being a bunch of bastards. No, because when I looked at the numbers that are coming from the distributors themselves, it would suggest that I've lost sales because I didn't release an album. That it was, that they were. It was not. But I still haven't actually released the Bastard Guides as an album yet. I'm still doing the 1 track per thing. So, isn't that crazy? And also on another note, I'm still pushing ahead with Title, Pandora, and there's another one. Yeah, just trying to get more plays in community going with Title and Pandora, because although Title might play a whole bunch more, you don't get paid. You know, there is no, the actual engine to find your music on Title is not very good, and you have to do it yourself. And that's kind of good because you only get paid if you get, you know, if you push it, and similar with Pandora as well. So, you know, there are people who want to hear your music, and different people listen to different radio stations. Blah, just FYI. And I don't want this to turn into a fucking conversation about how much blah 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 sucks. I can't deal with it. So every 18 to 24 months, I think's pretty solid for an album release. And when I find out how to utilize the whole thing about album plays and all that shit, and figuring out the balance between the whole waterfall thing, bullshit, total bullshit. And also the singles thing, we will see. But one really interesting thing about the singles is that I missed 1 month with Ice Planet 9000 because I was moving. In that month, because nothing got played for basically month and a half, there was no new releases. It dropped to I lost. The plays were about quartered. The monthly plays were quartered, which I think's pretty fucking serious. So yeah, and this is another really interesting thing as well. Now I'm on a rant. Am I okay to rant? I am. It's really interesting. You guys know how much I hate record labels and blah blah blah, fucking record labels. And I'm at a point now where I'm going. I'm so desperate that I have resorted to prayer. And the one more step of desperation is contacting a record label. And I am considering it now that, provided a whole bunch of things, and I don't know what a label's going to offer me back, but I put this, Title's got this really cool thing where you can hook up with collaborators. And it's actually really cool. It's like, hey man, I'm in this area and I do this kind of music and blah 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 blah. Do you want to, do you want to collaborate? And I don't want to collaborate, but what I do want is I'm looking for people. And by the way, if anybody has a DVD player that they want to get rid of, please contact me. That plays CDs as well, because mine busted and I'm pissed off. Collaborations. My thing said, look, I don't want to make music with you. I want to work at marketing. I want to work together to try and get more plays on Tidal, Spotify, on streaming services and shit like that. And I've got no responses. Funny that, because it's if I said I'm in an apartment and it's hard to move because I've got so many modular synths and old analogs and old samplers. Do you want to make music? It's like, yeah. It's like, but I don't want to do that, because my whole thing is, what's the fucking point of making music when no one's going to hear it? I know, that's what I think. That's so fucked, isn't it? That's what I think. Yeah, that's what I think. The process of making music is great fun, but I don't know. So it's been very interesting that, yeah. And this is another really interesting thing, is that the purpose of music for me is to bring the congregation into worship, to bring the congregation closer to the tabernacle, to the place of holy worship. That's my thing. And you can define holy worship however you want, whether it's getting really angry in your work and throwing a chair through the window, great. Or whether it's finding a calm, peaceful, healing place, great. So for me, music has always been, sure, the process and everything is really good for me, but if I don't have, can't share these thoughts with anyone, I can't do that. That's why it's important for me for people to hear it. It's important for me for my music to have a positive influence and impact on people. That's just me. So that's my rant of, I have no idea what the fuck is going on, because the algorithm's changing every 20 seconds and I really want to punch the guy that does Patreon. And I want to punch him. I want to punch him in the face. I want to mess up his beard. I wouldn't punch him very hard. It would be more like a bitch slap. In fact, I wouldn't even do that. I'd probably glare at him through my sunglasses. Yeah. Anyway, there you go. Does anybody else want to make some crazy comment here, right here? Frankly, all I want to do right now is cuddle a puppy or a cat. Yeah, I know. I'm seeing you, Kerry. You know, Kerry, you should. How about you give us a rant about making mystical music, because you're very good at that, and I find it very inspiring. If that's okay with the puppy.
Are you okay with it, Steve? He's my number one engineer too.
All right.
He's my sound engineer. I just tap into the subconscious, and I too, it takes me to dark places. Like one piece that I've been working on for a while, I like to do a lot of sampling from places, and this one piece I'm finally about done with. Last weekend I was working on it and I really pushed myself to the limits. The sample is rather disturbing, and so I thought, okay, so I'll play it backwards. Well, that got even worse, and I was in a funk for the rest of Sunday night and had to meditate and listen to the binaural beats and everything to get out of that funk, because it messed with me. And plus, like you said, I put my all into it, and it drains you, and it will knock you for a loop sometimes when you're creating music. But that's not what you asked, though, right? And he has his hand up. I'm sorry.
No. The floor is yours.
Okay.
No, it's okay.
Making funky, weird music. I mean, poor James, whenever we do stuff live, I'll work on stuff and tweak stuff out and throw in samples like a week's worth. And then when we jam live, the poor guy doesn't know what he's getting into until I start going, and he just goes with it. And that's how we make our funky, little bizarre psychedelic music together. It just, we play well together and read each other while we're playing music to know, and we just go with it. We just pull from the inner soul and selves.
That is awesome.
Right, James?
And you,
Here,
and me.
come here.
And you and me and me and you
you and me.
Yeah, I mean, we work well together. Do you have
Okay.
something to say to it about it? About when we, our funky psychedelic music?
Yeah, we just play jazz with synths, pretty much. Or I do. She sets it up and we go.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
Steve.
And Steve and
And
Henry.
Steve.
Henry's somewhere. Oh, there he is.
Henry.
There's Henry.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's really interesting. You brought up "So Happy Together." The chords in that track are fantastic, especially in the chorus. Fantastic chords. It's so it's way so there's, it feels like it's weaving the chords. There's absolutely lovely chords. Thank you very much, Kerry. I appreciate that. I always appreciate the way that you create music because to me it's mysterious. And every time I look at your apartment, I see like UFOs. Like the UFO on the ceiling right now.
Oh, this is like, Ziggy, change the music room lights to blue.
Of course, his name is Ziggy. That's fantastic.
Because we have Alexa in one room, so we call this one Ziggy. And so we have like smart lighting.
Good afternoon.
Ziggy, change the lights to green.
Okay.
That makes sense because planet Earth is blue and there's nothing that Ziggy can do.
Right.
Thank you. Green looks
Welcome.
good. Go back to blue. Go back to blue. I'm going to throw this to Brett. Thank you so much, Kerry. I really appreciated that. Brett.
Hey. I was actually I wasn't trying to interrupt you, Carrie. I was actually I was going with it. Quite often, you know, those are the exact sounds I'm after. So I just thought it was kind of cool, and I find that, you know, I was talking to Carl the other day. I will often take sounds and flip them around. Another thing is taking them and just drawing them out. There's a couple of cool effects like old Cool Edit Pro, and I think it's Audition now where you can do like a power slate. But yeah. Anyway, I was just cheering you on.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man. I want to. I'm going to throw this to Alex. Then I'm going to have a rant. Alex, the floor is yours.
So I'm of course a master of not finishing stuff, but the way that seems to be the best of working for me is to first do Safari for a track and just collect samples that feel like they belong there. Then actually do the track on my sampler. And then if I realize I'm missing something, get that back and maybe replace something. But I think that's the best way of working for me because that's the way I try to minimize the back and forth as much as possible from like sample creation and writing, because that's always what gets me distracted.
Alex, I want you to channel someone. As in channel someone's spirit. Salvador Dali. I want you to channel Salvador Dali. And I want you to find out how he wrote, how he created. And I want you to, because, you know, we've been talking about masks and stuff, and I just saw your avatar and I thought, is that Salvador Dali's eye? Is that his eye or is that your eye?
It's mine.
All right, it looks like Salvador Dali's eye. I want you to, that's a really good avatar, by the way. I want you to channel Salvador. I want you to learn about him. I want you to do some research on Salvador Dali. I want you to find out where the genius craziness came from. And the guy was borderline genius. And I want you to tap into that. Because I think there's this creative dam behind you, and all you need to do is figure out how to regulate that flow. And something wonderful is, and Francis Bacon. Thank you, Rob. Yes, Francis Bacon.
And if I may continue, also H.R. Geiger.
Ah, yes. Yeah, well, because Geiger was a protege of Dali. Yes, yes. So find out Crazy Diley, fantastically, wonderfully crazy. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about, or can I go on a rant?
You may go on a rant.
Thank you. Firstly, thank you for your encouragement regarding the live streams that I've been doing. And what I'll do is, in case things you haven't been watching them, I'm going to put them in the links and everywhere. Here are the live streams I've been doing. This is me basically making crazy music, and it's been great fun. Booyah. So if I want you to go and thank you again, Brett, for your really positive verbiage we had this week. If you're inspired by these, please take what's going on and build on them. Please do that. I would be honored if you do that. There's high quality MP3s available on the Patreon. And that link is in the description of all of them. I'm going to try and do one of these a week, although that's not going to happen for the next 2 weeks because reasons. I'm trying, and this is once again totally inspired by you guys here, where we've brought up a lot of things, and I've gone, I need to change the way I work. I need to alter. I need to try something different in the way that my mind can communicate and is connected to music. So the gear doesn't really matter, but it's the method of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And what I'm doing is the live streams are a rehearsal, but I'm recording the MIDI sessions. And I've fucked around a whole bunch to make sure that the studio is actually working so I can actually record stuff. But I'm recording the MIDI sessions. And they've become tracks. And because of the length of the tracks, I can't, it's difficult for me to, I can't record them all because they're like, they have to be done live. So because I'm recording the MIDI, if I want to go through and edit and change anything, I go through and change it on the MIDI, and it's much easier. And I can alter stuff a little tiny bit. Those first 3 recordings, they were not recorded live, only because I've just figured out how to actually do that inside my brain, how to do that. But the future ones are going to be recorded, and they will become actually releasable things. Because when you record something live, it's a different energy, because it's got to work. There are no excuses. It's got to work. So the really wonderful thing about this process is that they're recorded down onto the computer like in one audio pass. So they're thoroughly mixed. And that's the other reason I record the MIDI, is so I can actually, while the song's playing the MIDI back, I can go through and adjust the like EQ it and compress it and do all that fun shit. Because I can't really do that on the on a live show just cause reasons. When and then when it's recorded, you're recording it to tape in one fell swoop. You're not rendering it, you're recording it, you're doing it. And it's the most wonderful thing because it ain't how I work. It's how I used to work 20 years ago before the technology was good enough to dump all your tracks down. It's really exciting because it's really exciting. There's a whole bunch of risk that's going on. And this is all Ice Planet 9000 stuff, and it's easy to do Ice Planet 9000 stuff because it's not meticulous, crazy shit. This is how I used to do Angel Spit, and it's why the first few albums took so much time, because it was very difficult and you got one chance, and if you fuck it up, you have to do the whole damn thing again. And that's the thing about it. These tracks are like 40 minutes long, and if you fuck it up, you gotta go back to the beginning and re-record the whole fucking song again. but it's really interesting how this a change in the way things flow has had a real, like, I listen to the tracks and you can hear the change because you have to play this stuff in one take with two hands and a foot, and one foot on sustain pedals and the other one on a expression pedal that's controlling controllers. That's what you've got to do. So what you are doing is limited to what you can do. It's not overdubs. It's not little bricks on the screen. It's not layering. These are the rules. And it's so risky and edgy. And okay, this is going to come as a shock. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to play live again. And I want to do Ice Planet 9000. I don't want to do Angel Spit. I mean, it's inevitable that there's going to be another Angel Spit tour. But what happens in Angel Spit, I cannot recreate that live unless I have 10 people. I don't want to do that. And with Ice Planet 9000, with a big keyboard and a big sampler, out I go, and I could do this live. And I could do this I could do 2.5 minutes of music. 2.5 hours of music very easily. No modular synths, nothing, just the emulator for the controller, and my shitty fucking desk. And I could do it live. And it's really interesting that has been a really exciting, hopeful thing for me. And then I've looked at the amount of gear and it's like, well, the emulator 4 is actually heavy, but I can do it. And I could build a rack that would house this shit in it. And it would be very easy and very doable. I can do it. And it's very exciting that I could just sit there. And the keyboard stand I got, actually, it's built to be unscrewed, broken down, and packed quickly and easily. It's like an X-frame, but it's actually really cheap. So hopefully it won't fall apart and fall on my legs and break my legs. But yeah, and it's a very it's a super exciting thing for me. And I was thinking, if I wanted to add modular blippy bloops, I put a stereo track on my phone and then I bust them out because it's free time. I'm not fucking around with all of this shit. I can take a left output and a right output and I can bring them up on 2 channels. And I can either be fading them in or fading them out. And just to be able to go, I don't need it because I am trying to channel something. I am trying to clearly present something. So that's been really fun. And I thank you guys for helping me get to this place. And maybe in 2024, I will do Ice Planet 9000 somewhere. And it was funny because I was thinking about where the fuck would I do this? And that's another reason to try and get signed, because they theoretically know, but there's not many ambient venues. You have to go and create them yourselves. And of course, then the next thing I thought is, shit, I could do this in Quadrasound. Because I know, and already I'm complicating it. But then I thought, no, wait a minute, I'm not complicating this, because there's so many parts of all the separate outputs and everything else that I can easily say that entire output goes there, and I just keep doing the thing as per usual. There's no change. I'm just sending the reverbs to the back of the room and everything else dry there, and all this other shit. So that was a very exciting thought for me. And I was trying to wonder, how do I do this? How would I turn up to a venue and say, I need 4 speakers. People would be bringing pillows and yoga mats so they could lie down. If you want to bring a projector to project something crazy weird, fine. But then I realized that there's a really big overlap between the Angel Spit audience and the Ice Planet audience. Like, there is a decent, maybe 20-30% of the people are into this, that they're actively supporting it. So I don't know, I had a really I had a very positive thought, and I could tour it in a Prius. I think that's the real test for me, is can you tour it in a Prius? Like me, I need someone else because I don't drive. And can everything fit in a Prius? Why a Prius? Because they're small. Insert another name of a small car here. Yeah, but it would fit. And you'd have to knock the back seats down so you could get the keyboard in. And I was thinking I want to take the blaster beam as well. But now I'm starting to complicate things. But the desk could handle blaster beam. There you go. That's it. So that's my rant. And I want to start doing using more blaster beam in these live jams as well. Because it's such a lovely instrument. Terrifyingly beautiful, big thing of terror. Yeah. So yeah, and I've been listening to a lot of. I gotta look, man. I've been watching Vangelis play live. Oh my god! Like just watching him go, it's like, wow. It's just so wonderful. No, it won't fit in the Morris Minor. Rob, won't fit. It won't fit. Actually, one of the modern ones maybe, because you can probably put the chairs down or something. So that's it. That's all I've got. Dude, my parents had a P76. We had a P76.
What the hell are you two talking about now?
They had a
Translate.
P76. I was brought up in a P76 and it was green. It was a green P. And I thought it was called a P because it was green. But it's Australia made a car by a company called Leyland. And it was actually a fucking good car. Those things still go, except aren't the engines made of aluminium?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And they were notorious because the only car in production where a trunk could fit a 44-gallon drum.
Yeah.
So you could fit a lot of gear in the back.
Dude, that car was so fucking, it just kept going. And yeah, I remember the P so well. Fucking great car. And the smell and the interior of it, it was a cruise-mobile. So Rob and I were having, and the radio, the little push button things, get all those different AM stations. Good shit, mate. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, P76. Actually, it's funny that my aunt, rest her soul, she had a Valiant. She had a 1968 white Valiant. There it is. Great car. Nice. Thanks, Alex. She had a 1968 Valiant, and it was like a fucking Valiant. And it had louvers on the interior windows, and it had red leather seats. And this thing was worth $1 million. And of course, her grandson got it, and he took it out, and in 6 months, wrapped it around a tree. Wrapped it around, and the rest of the family just went, "You could have sold that and bought a house, you fucking idiot." Anyway, there you go. Why did she give it to him? God. Anyway, so that's enough. That's all I want to talk about cars. Holdens, man. Holdens.
So back onto your topic, Carl. Is there a hardware device that will record more than an hour of MIDI that you can play with later?
Oh yeah, I just use Cubase.
No, I mean, without using a PC or a Mac in the studio, is there any hardware gear that, like, do any of your samplers record more than an hour of MIDI?
Yes, the Emaxes do. The Emulator 4 will. So I could record the whole thing onto Emulator 4. And it's got 128 megs of RAM, so it will easily record the entire thing. But it's really important that I record. It's got to be done on a DAW, because there's a lot of continuous controllers being generated by the foot pedal and stuff, and I will actually go through and even that shit out, and it does make a big difference. And also the keyboard is broadcasting 4 different MIDI channels over the one output, and it won't. I don't have any hardware gear that will be able to separate that out. It will see it as one MIDI channel, and it will merge everything onto one MIDI channel. So it's got to be done. That's like step one is record it. Step two is pull it out. And because like if I've got sustain information on going out one MIDI channel and it's not on another MIDI channel, because the great thing about this keyboard is you can say the sustain pedal, this sustain pedal only works on this MIDI channel. This one works on this MIDI channel, and this one works on all four of them. But when you record that and play it back on hardware, it'll just see one sustain pedal, one everything, which I don't want. And that's been another really fun thing as well, is figuring out, learning about sustain pedals and expression pedals, and really utilizing it, and then going into the sound going, okay, well, I want that to be a great big filter sweep, or I want it to control the speed that the filter does this thing, or to be creating really fun things to make the sound evolve. So it's not just on this sound, it might be a filter sweep, but on this sound, what it's going to do is it's, as I open that expression pedal more, it's actually going to say, well, the very incredibly slow LFO, it's going to be taking more effect. So when it's fully opened, it's going to be 127 degrees of LFO changing something random in the sound. When it's closed, it's going to be 0. And then saying, instead of the velocities being velocity, the velocities are going to control the attack rate or the pan spread or shit like that. Big subtle things is really fantastic. Alex, talk to me.
To answer Rob's question, there is my MPC 1000. I think you can set the pattern length to either 99 or 999 bars, so that would do that. Also, I think the modern MPCs probably do that, and the push 3 sampler will also do that, but that's a DAW by itself. And I had another idea. Yeah, I think there's like an app by Yamaha where you can just put your phone with a MIDI interface, plug it into your keyboard, and it records everything. And it's the idea is that you can record it for your practice, but it should do that as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes. All right, good stuff. Does anybody else want to bring up anyone? Brother Sequencer. How old's this?
I remember them getting used in the 90s, so it's got to predate that a little bit.
Dude, Brother. I remember Brother.
I just think it's funny that Brother has a MIDI sequencer. And I know people that used it.
Yeah.
Made music, actual music.
Dude.
Did it print as well? Could you type letters with it?
It's like a 40 character 2-line LCD, and you had to like use a scroll alpha dial to put in every character.
There
You
you
could
go.
write a novel.
Yep.
Where there's a will.
Damn. Yeah, really fucking fun shit, mate. Really fun shit. So yeah, the moral of the story is trying to different areas of thought will unlock other different areas of thought and really open your brain up. Yes. Hope. What a wonderful thing is hope. Does anybody else want to say anything, or do I wish you all a merry, happy end of financial, whatever the fuck it is, everything? Let's do that.
When will the next Out of Rock be?
Oh, we're gonna try for next weekend. And if there's changes to the galactic galaxy of Galaxarianism, then so it shall be. So it shall be. But it's most likely going to be. I put a thing in the Discord that's a recurring event, so it's pretty safe to say it'll be every Saturday. Okay, too much fantasticness. I'm going to end this thing, and I will just reiterate some bits and pieces because of everything. Art of Rock is here every weekend, every Saturday, right here. I say join us on Twitch, but a lot of people are joining on YouTube as well, which is great. Yay! Thank you for supporting Angel Spit's Patreon. $3 a month, and you can help me keep going and all that fun shit. Right now, we're going to raid to MTV TV. And I have to make sure I can actually raid because this thing is so complicated. I don't know if I haven't seen Diana in the chat today. I really hope she's okay. But what I am going to do is just very quickly attempt real hard to make this shit happen as we go into. Wow, it's my voice in my face. And Adam, if we don't raid, you're welcome to make this raid as well. Oh my God. I believe in myself and I believe in the power of fucking stuff. Boom. Let's raid to MTV TV. Thank you so much for joining us. Please, health, healing, and happiness to you. And we're going to hang back here for a while and have a chat. And rock and roll. I'll see you on Saturday. Yay!